Well, hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the FutureSox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me, as always, Mr. James Fox, and all the way over there, straight from North Carolina, Mr. Jeff Cohen. How you doing?
It's great to be with you guys.
Great to have you. So, sort of big week here at FutureSox. We put out our top 30 midseason re-rank. I know that like James and I had input on it, and you were not on it this time. That's probably something we should rectify. As you see those people all the time, it'd probably be a good idea. But big week. James, do you want to start off with this, or do you want to move along and talk about North Carolina and that stuff first? It's up to you. I'm going to give you the overall decision here.
Yeah, I'm sure we have questions. No, I feel like we should. We have Jeff here so that like we can hear about some of the new draft picks and some of the Fuller stuff. So why don't we talk to him about his stuff first, and then he can chime in on top 30.
All right, sounds
after.
good. So, Jeff, you had an awesome interview with Ryan Fuller this week, and I chopped it up and threw it up on the YouTubes and put like bits and pieces of it on Twitter. Do you want to give everybody like a I don't know, just a overall perspective on what you heard from him and how he was to deal with?
Yeah. Um, as you guys know, White Sox roving instructors can turn up at any affiliate at any time, and you never know who you're going to see. It might be Ryan Newman, it might be Julio Mascara. I see Matt Zielinski a lot, and for the first time this season, Ryan Fuller was in Kannapolis when I happened to be there for batting practice. And just such a friendly, gracious guy. I really want to start off my comments by he came over. He recalled meeting me in spring training. Said, "Nice to see you. Let's chat after batting practice," and made himself available. So it's hard to beat, And I had the same experience when I bumped into Paul Janish in Winston Salem earlier this year. Came over, introduced himself, made himself available. So, what did I talk to Ryan about? I needed to be sensitive to his time, so I just started. I just started talking to him about some of the more notable prospects. We were in Kannapolis, so we first started talking about George Wolkow, and my takeaways from that were that he talked about. George's continued maturity, and he and I kind of agreed that George's at bats just are more competitive now. He said that one of you guys had asked me to ask him if if they are using in Chicago what he used in Baltimore, some type of swing decision calculation, and apparently they do, because in his comments to me, he said, yes, we do share with them their swing decision score. And he said, so based on that, plus based on George's hard hit rate, he said, we're seeing the kind of progress we want to see. He's making more contact off of better pitch types that he wasn't doing last year. And I got to agree, they're just much more competitive at bats. It's just a question of if it clicks, or not.
I think so it's really good to hear that they're doing it. I know Ian was very interested in finding out if they were. I remember what that was 2 years ago when that article came out, Ian, where they just like interviewed him and some of so like the gist of it is, for anybody that like doesn't know, right? Like if you get like this low pitch that's a terrible pitch and you hit a double, it's a bad swing decision, like regardless of like the outcome of the pitch essentially. And it's just, like something that wasn't happening in the White Sox minors, like like before. I think you would just like look at the stats, right? And it's like, okay, well, some of this stuff isn't going to translate to like good decisions like in the big leagues, which is like kind of the whole point of this.
Right. Yeah.
I'm happy that they're using that. definitely happy because it's one, like you said, they didn't really have that before. They're just looking at. I'm sure they were probably looking at hard hit rates and all that stuff. But I mean, hearing that that they indeed do have Hawkeye everywhere and that it's actually being used, it's like a breath of fresh air after wanting those things for years and years.
We assumed it was going to be in Arizona and Chicago. I was surprised that it's in three of the four U.S. affiliates. They have it in Winston-Salem now, which is good for the White Sox for not trying to cut corners there.
Yeah, now if we can just get the nice pitching machines everywhere instead of just in Chicago and Arizona, that would be fantastic.
Right. So the second guy I talked to Ryan about was Colson, and and he did allude to some mechanical changes. He didn't go into great detail, but if you just kind of parse his words, he talked about um, where his hands are, and is how he said we adjusted his stride and his length. Um, and he said we did that to get him into better positions so he could make better swing decisions, which he did at the lower levels of the minor league. Um, and then of course he talked about just how it was a great idea by Chris Getz to suggest that Colson go to Arizona for what he called a mental reset.
Yeah, I think that everybody's pretty much in lockstep that it seems to have done some things for his confidence and for getting him just back into the groove of hitting the baseball again. You can look at his batting average in the majors and say, well, there's still something to be desired there, but at least he looks to be on a better track, and his at bats definitely look better.
Yeah, yeah. Still an amazing turnaround. It's still kind of hard to believe, but obviously exciting to see. The third guy I asked him about was Jacob Gonzalez, only because I had been unable to get to some Charlotte's Knights games, and so I had not seen Jacob in person yet. I've since gotten to see him in a couple of games and actually chatted with him after batting practice. But I wanted to get Ryan's take, and he said that he's quietly had a nice season, making the necessary adjustments. He kept going back to making adjustments, making adjustments. That's what he has wanted to see from Jacob, and that's what he's seeing. When we were talking about Jacob, that also led to our discussion about torpedo bats, and I found that interesting because he said that they've recommended it to multiple guys. And what I also found fascinating is he maintains that these guys may or may not use it depending upon how they anticipate being pitched that night. And I suspect that may be more among major leaguers than in the minor leagues. Because when I talked to Jacob himself, he said he was just completely using the torpedo bat until he broke all of them. And now he is. Yeah, I said, "Well, are you going to reorder?" And he said, "Yeah, but I'm going to see how it goes with the other bat." So,
Hmm.
um, but I thought that was an interesting discussion.
Um, yeah, Adrian asked any torpedoes making its way to the affiliates or players. I mean, I know that there are. Yeah, Kerry brings up Ryan Burrows. He's been using them. I've seen a couple around. I can't like off the top of my head think of who else I've seen using them. The idea that they would use them in a game situation, depending on like who's going to be pitching them inside and whatever. That's almost like the same revelation that Elijah and I had when we were talking to Edgar Caro, and he said that he was using two different size bats depending on which side of the plate he was hitting from. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. It
Right.
didn't seem like something that I just assumed that he would use the same bat for both sides. But, Marucci, you know, said that he should try different bats. So here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Then the last guy, the last specific player I asked about was Sam Antonacci, and of course he raved, as everyone does. All of the instructors rave. His comments was, yeah, he's got a good simple swing. He said really gritty, tough at bats. And the thing he pointed out that I liked, he said, unbelievable swing decisions. When he should take, he takes. When he should swing, he swings. When he makes contact, it's quality contact on a line.
Yeah, he's just a professional hitter.
Yep.
He's leading the entire organization in on base percentage, and just looks overall really, really good.
Right. Right. And then the last thing is I asked him about the new guys, but he didn't go into a lot of specifics, and we were kind of running out of time. He just, was enthusiastic, as you would imagine he is, about all the new draftees, and looking forward to watching them all get shipped out to Kannapolis and Winston.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
he was mentioned a lot. Like he had at least somewhat of a say in drafting the hitters, So I doubt it, somebody that he likes that the scouting staff didn't, right? Like I doubt that happened, right? But anybody they took, I would think he was pretty much on board with.
Yeah, cool. So that was pretty much the conversation with Ryan. But like I said, it was great to catch up with him and get his insights on a couple of those guys.
all right. Well, let's go ahead and start in Kannapolis. You've seen was it DePino and
And Eli
Caleb
Brown, right?
Freeman, Eli Brown, um, Colby Shelton, who hit his first home run today. Um, anything that you got on? I know that you've interviewed a bunch of them, so you want to go ahead and run through those guys and let people know what your thoughts on them
Yeah,
are.
yeah. One guy you neglected to mention was Bryce Eblin, who I saw
Bryce
him
Edlin.
play and pitch earlier in the week, but he dove for a ball, and so he's taking a few days off to let his shoulder heal. But yeah, I had a chance to see them all. Um, this is that rough year where they played in college, and then they had a break, and Arizona, now they're trying to ramp back up again. Um, and by and large, they're all looking kind of overmatched and tired. And you pretty much discount what you're seeing this year in terms of statistics. You like to see how they play defense, how they hustle, the swing, bat speed, things like that. But you disregard all the numbers, and you just and wait till you see them next year after they've had some an off season to prepare. And but that said, yeah, it was good to see Colby get that home run today. He really knocked the hell out of that ball, and he had really been struggling. I think he was like 1 for 36 or something coming into the game. Though I will say, he comes with a heck of a pedigree, leading the SEC in hitting last year, and it also looks really smooth at shortstop, and it looks like he's got a really strong arm. So that was
Yeah.
Colby. Um, Anthony DePino, unfortunately, they've got him playing out of position. He's at first base, and he's not done. He played third base all during college, and I think the first game that I went to this week was Wednesday night, and there were two low throws in the dirt. He didn't come up with either of them. That's a tough way to start your pro career, playing a new position like that. But he's enthusiastic about it, and he's kind of optimistic. And it's a great way for him to get playing time, because there aren't a lot of natural first basemen in the minor leagues for the Sox for whatever reason. Um, and he actually looks a little more comfortable at the plate. But the guy who looks the most comfortable and seems to be having the most success right out of the gate is Eli Brown. Just that great leadoff hitter, seems to really be able to get the bat on the ball and has good speed.
Yeah, a couple multi-hit games from him. He's come out of the gate, swinging.
Yeah, Eli Brown's interesting because it's like a leadoff profile, bat to ball, definite center field. There's just no power. So it's limited, but at least it's center field, right? And he's
Yep.
really fast. I will say, like, I don't want to sound the alarms obviously yet, but like with Shelton and Lodis, like what you said is important. Like the draft year, you can kind of disregard it. But those two guys were outliers for White Sox picks because neither one of them had very much success like in wood bat leagues, like in college, and the tiny samples, right? But it's usually just like a big thing for hitters Sox take. Like you always hear about like, oh, they were great on the Cape or whatever, and both of those guys kind of struggled with wood, so it is going to be probably a bit of a transition.
I had a
Interesting.
question of why he isn't playing third base, and I can't off the top of my head remember who's playing third base.
Let's see. Well, they've got
Artsy.
Shelton's at shortstop and Sprinkles at second. I think they've had both games I attended 3 games this week. I think Artsy was at third base all 3 games, and I don't know. I'm not. I mean,
I wonder if they just think he's going to be a first baseman and they just want him to go out and hit.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
may be.
I know maybe it's a transition defensively, right? But maybe they just kind of think like, just go play first base and worry about hitting. And you're kind of saying, he's not as good necessarily at first because he hasn't played there before. They might just not care like right now on it. And I was gonna ask you that, like how does he look, right? Does he look like first base only? Because you've seen these guys, right? That are, oh man, like they're pretty good, but they really, really have to rake because they're gonna get stuck at first. Do you think he's one of those guys, or do you think I mean, obviously you've only seen like the body, right? Do you think third base is realistic?
Well, that's interesting. I didn't see him field many grounders. There was just one that I thought was that he should have had that went past him for extra bases down the line, and I thought, God, if he was at third, he probably would have had that if he was a decent third baseman. So I don't know. I don't know how to describe his glove yet, but I know it's still a work in progress at first base. He did make a nice pick in the dirt today. Um, but again, it's 3 games, and it's hard to say. But you're right; it may just be that first base is the easiest place to park him, and there's not a first baseman in Winston ahead of him. You got to wait till you get all the way up to Ryan Galaney before you find a natural first baseman in this system. He and Elko may be the only two actually. So because otherwise, I'm not really sure why he's playing ahead of Arksy. But if he played third, I don't know who they put at first right now.
Right, and I think there's a chance that all of these dudes are in Winston next year, and Bonham probably is too, right? So,
Yep.
like, he's probably playing first, right? Because, like, if you have Lodis and Shelton and Bonham, and a whole host of other guys, like, all in Winston-Salem, like, you're going to prioritize Bonham at short, right? So, maybe Lodis is then your second baseman, and Shelton's your third. I don't know, but I could totally see them just being like, you're playing first.
Yeah, and that's assuming Mogollon doesn't advance to Winston, and Gerald Perez is gone to Birmingham. Otherwise, you really got a glut.
Yeah.
But nice problem to have.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it like you've got like these log jams everywhere, and I'm not entirely sure what to make of any of them because until they get to higher levels, like it's hard to kind of make the decision on who should move up, you know?
Yeah,
There's just
no, yeah, it's really. I'd love to be able to catch up with Paul Janish again sometime and just get a sense as to how they sort all this out. It's a big puzzle. Um, and and I think you're right. I think it just the more we talk about it, though, the more I think it makes sense that DePino is at first base because there's so many guys ahead of him at third base.
yeah, I know right now in Winston, you've got Lyle Miller Green and Alex Makarevich kind of swapping off between first base. And from what I understand, is that they took Burrows and moved him up to advanced A because he normally is like a shortstop second baseman, and Arksy was playing shortstop a lot, and they wanted him back at third base. So that's the only thing that I can figure as far as that whole thing goes, is that they wanted to make a priority of getting him back to third base enough that they moved him back, in the
Yeah.
succession of minor teams. So
He was out of position at shortstop, to be sure. Yeah, that
yeah,
was not helping that team at all.
yeah. And like one thing that we've also talked about is Caleb Bonnemer, who's mentioned in the comments here, is that he's the game that I went to, he started at third base. They've kind of bumped him over to third base a little bit, and from his normal shortstop. But with all these guys coming up, it's like where's the playing time going to go, and who's going to end up sitting?
Well, and I kind of think that's been one of the surprises of the minor league season was like a lot of the like Baseball America and MLB Pipeline have really moved Caleb Bonnemer up on their lists, and a big reason for that is because he's like looked pretty good at shortstop. I think a lot of people thought that he was one of these like older high school guys who played short that ultimately had to move to third, and then at that point like does the bat play right? But if he can play shortstop, he's going to be a top 50 prospect in baseball probably if he stays at shortstop. So that makes him a lot more interesting.
Do you see him staying at short?
I don't know. Like you would know better than me because you've seen him like live. But I know that just like reading reports from scouts and people that talk to scouts, like they think he's got a better shot at it than they did pre-draft and post-draft. I mean, because that's one of the reasons why he's ranked as high as he is, because people think he might be able to stick there for at least a while.
It's going to be a fun off-season exercise to try and figure out who are the 4 affiliate second basemen and shortstops going next year on opening day. Because you got Bergoya, you got Jacob Gonzalez at the upper levels. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and I think it just kind of gives you more bites at the apple here. Is that like before the White Sox would pin their hopes on one guy and hope that one guy worked out at that position. Now they have a plethora of guys to try out there. It's just the question remains is, are they going to give every single one of them an opportunity to do this? Because if you do that, then you're cutting somebody else's,
Yeah.
possible. I mean, like think about Lenin Sosa. He proved everything in every level. It just took him a while to get there, and now that he's in the majors and has gotten at bats, the bats showing through. Now, is the defense going to improve enough for him to stick there? I don't know, but
Yeah, but if he hits like this, you don't feel as bad about DHing him.
that's true. That
Like
is
I
true.
mean, like I think he's on the team because they have no power. So I will say, Jeff, I think we know who the shortstop in Kannapolis is next year. I think that one's kind of like I think that's Billy Carlson.
Right, for sure. Oh, God, I didn't even think about he. Oh my God.
Right. I think that's Billy Carlson. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
everybody else will be playing elsewhere.
We still have another wave of players we've got to pencil in.
Yep. Yeah, there's
Wow.
gonna like the middle infield is going to get awfully crowded, and there's going to be some people, out there looking for jobs because they just can't keep all of these guys. There's just no
No.
way.
And there's also like and it's not as high of upside, right, as we're saying but there's like an influx in the outfield too if everyone's healthy, right? So like if everyone's back healthy, you have multiple players like Casey Sawkey and Nick McLean, and obviously Eli Brown will keep moving up, and you have, Fauski is going to be in Kannapolis. So you do have like some outfielders to add to the mix too. They're just hurt or, in Arizona basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that they absolutely need is more outfield help. That is for sure.
So speaking of that, just before we move on to our next topic, we do have a new outfielder in Kannapolis, and that's Caleb Freeman. And I think he's going to be kind of a fun one, like Mikey Kane was. He's looks like a big personality, and he strikes me as just a really gritty baseball player. When I talked to him, I sort of had a flashback to Jacob Burke when he was in Kannapolis. Play with your hair on fire.
That hair.
And so
Caleb Freeman played at 4 colleges, I believe.
Yep, and was scheduled on his way to Texas when the White Sox signed him. Yep.
Yeah,
But it was pretty cool.
thankfully.
He had his first game yesterday, and several of his um, teammates from not, what was it, Georgia?
Georgia State. Yeah, that's where he
Georgia
started.
State. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the Georgia State guys were there to support him, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty easy drive right there. That's not too bad.
And you'll have to note like how many positions he plays because it's something that Ian noticed that I didn't even notice. Like when they took him on day 3, they announced him as a utility guy. So they kind of did the same thing, I think, with McCants last year, where they were just like, we're gonna play this guy all over.
And then McCants has done nothing but play in the outfield, which is fine. Totally works for me. But all right, so let's go ahead and talk about Grant Umberger, Jeff, because VP is showing out down there in Kannapolis.
Man, I tell you, that guy has got elite control. Man, he is so good. If the bullpen had held on last night, he would have had his 9th win. But that's minor league baseball at its best. Really bad relief pitching.
Jeff, hang on. Did you just make up VP or is that a thing?
No, I've been saying that for a while. I might
Okay.
have heard it somewhere. I don't know, but it's on all the tweets.
Yeah, we need like t-shirts.
Yeah, VP. He's yeah, so as of yesterday, he is now the single season franchise leader in strikeouts for a single year.
Yeah.
He's got 100 strikeouts in Kannapolis. He's 8-2. He should have been probably 10-2, maybe.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
So
And
somebody asked me this, like about because he wasn't on our just missed, right? And somebody asked me, like, I think, like, oh, what does this guy have to do to get? And it's not like we don't know who he is, right? But I almost think like it's unfair for some of these guys because, like, look, like guys like him should probably pitch well in Kannapolis. They shouldn't carve like he is, right? But like he's got to like do it in like Birmingham or something, and it's like almost unfair. But it's kind of like okay, like we want to see it like higher for these college guys.
Well, I don't want to name names, but just this year and last year alone, we could rattle off a half a dozen college pitchers who who just destroyed low A and went to Winston and struggled.
I
And
mean,
it's
if
very
you don't want
easily.
to, I'll mention them. I mean, it's just like there have been a couple of guys who have just like fallen on their face when they've gone up to Winston-Salem. I mean, Jake Peppers has had a really hard time. Who's the other one I'm thinking of? Seth Keener's had a really tough time.
Yep.
And it's one of those things, it's like these guys that are coming out of college should be doing really, really well in low A.
Right.
It's when they go to advanced A or double A, that's where they see the competition that's either going to bury them or they're going to rise over it. And it just is what it is. I mean, it's just a law of percentages, and this happens in every single organization. It's not something that is unique to the White Sox. So it's just kind of one of those things that we have to acknowledge that it's going to be a thing, and it's not, I don't think that we're being unfair by, stating the obvious that the stats that some of these guys are putting up, some of these guys that we assumed were going to carve up low A, and then eventually some of them are going to run into problems. Not everybody can, turn into a fifth starter or a fourth starter in the major leagues.
Well, and sometimes they may go to Winston and struggle and still have a happy ending, like Peyton Paulette, where you get put in the bullpen and find your niche.
Yep. I mean, exactly. Peyton Paulette, looks great out of the bullpen. Had a really, really tough time in advanced A, and his stuff ticked up, and it's worked out. Other ones they've moved to the pen, and it's still, no matter what position they're in advanced A, it just still hasn't worked. So, you hope that they find something that helps them to bump up their status here.
It's interesting. I think the consensus is that the biggest jump is from high A to double A, but I'm telling you, that low A to high A, man, you see a lot of guys fall by the wayside when they
And
get to Winston.
And now it's AAA to the majors, I think. Like, it's
Well,
just
yeah, that
like,
goes without
like,
saying. I mean,
it's just
like I
like
posted last week, everybody hits in Charlotte. I mean, my gosh, Jacob Amaya was hitting 375. And I'm not to pick on him. Everybody is hitting, Benny Capra and Lipschitz and all these guys. They all come to Charlotte and rake.
Mhm. Big league pitching's pretty good.
And AAA pitching is awful.
Sometimes, I mean, like you get these guys. I think that it's one of these things where you get guys that have like really good command, and they just don't have the stuff, or guys that have the stuff but don't have command. So I mean, you'll see some, and there's also a lot of consistency issues in AAA as well. Where you'll see a guy who one inning looks like, you know, pick any name, Justin Verlander for an inning, and then the next inning he comes out and he gives up 5 runs just because he can't, command his stuff, and he walks 3 guys. So,
Yep. Yep.
um, all right, so let's move along to another guy that you have recently seen that you were talking about. Had a little bit of a rough inning the other night, but the stuff seemed to have compelled you to tweet about him, Matthias Lacombe.
Oh yeah. 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 That was a bizarre start because God, the stuff looked so good, but there were a lot of ground balls that just made their way through the infield. But I'm firmly behind him, and he's one of those guys that I want to see what he can. I want to see him go to Winston and see what he can do because he's got that starter's frame, big strong guy. He can really shove it, get it up there in the upper 90s, and there's a lot to like about him. And I had a chance to talk to him after a game earlier this week, and I like what's between the ears too. I think he's got it all working right now.
Howard asks, rosters expand in September. Expands to 28, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that is a reasonable question, and something that we had been talking about in one of our chats, James, about who was going to be the guy or the 2 guys to make their way up to Chicago. And I think that's going to be an interesting decision that the White Sox are going to have to make.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have guys that are on their 40-man already if they want to be lame about it and just, like bring up Jairo Iriarte and Wickelman out of the pen or something. I think we've like
Ugh.
giving Tanner McDougal some time out of the big league bullpen just makes sense to me because you're gonna have to add him to your 40-man in December anyway, right? So doing it ahead of time, getting a look at him, and just being like, "Hey, look at this like big monster that throws gas." Like, because like, there's people that don't know who he is, right? You're people that just like watch White Sox games and don't listen to us. Like he's pretty exciting, right? So that makes sense to me. Baseball tossed like asked about Paulette. Like I'm ready. Like if you look at Peyton Paulette's stats, right? They're not perfect, but his stats over the last like month, he's doing basically what he did in Birmingham. So he's adjusted to the baseballs, he's adjusted to the ABS system. Peyton Paulette's pretty disgusting. Like he should be in Chicago. But he's not on the 40. So those 2 guys, I think, on the pitching side, I think would be the 2 most exciting. And then as far as the hitters, like, does Brian Ramos get a shot? Like, I don't know. We'll see. But
Do you have to bring up a hitter and a pitcher, or can you bring up any two players you want?
I think it's 14 and 14, like it is now. Like it's
Okay.
so like right now you're not allowed to have more than 13 pitchers. So you could carry 15 position players and 12 pitchers if you wanted, right? Or whatever it is, 14 and 12. You could do 14 and 12 if you wanted, but nobody does, obviously. So no, I think it has to be one pitcher, one position player. But that doesn't mean that you can't get rid of veteran relievers that you have in your big league team and bring up more guys. You could do that if you wanted to.
Or even Josh Rojas.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. And I
Oh boy.
say that it's sort of in jest, but kind of thinking like, why not bring up Ramos and Elko, or I don't know, maybe even Jacob Gonzalez. I mean, at some point you're going to have to give him a shot. Um, but Anyway, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Elko, possibly got some consideration for Player of the Week. He had 5 home runs this past series, um, and we'll talk about Braden Montgomery later.
Mm.
If he is not the Double-A Southern League Player of the Week,
I know, yeah.
there should be a riot.
Well, and obviously, like, there's, we're Tim Elko fans, and there's people who listen to this podcast are Tim Elko fans, right? But, like, if you were to bring him up right now, like, who is he playing instead of? What are they like, I feel like they'd have to play Benintendi in the outfield every day to play him, because then he'd play first, because 'cause you'd wanna get Sosa in the lineup still. They're trying to play Curtis Mead, right? Because you have Vargas and Montgomery and Mydroth now, and they're playing Brooks everywhere. Like, one thing I'm curious to see is if, like, obviously you mentioned Rojas, right? Does a guy like Michael A. Taylor get claimed on waivers, like August 30th, and then they just kind of let him go to a contender if he wants? You know what I mean? Like, that's
I think he
the type of
should.
stuff. He's very useful, very
Yeah,
helpful
he
for a
really
team.
is.
Like, yeah, he's been exactly like what they paid for. I mean, he's great defense, can't really hit, but it's like 10 homers. Like, he's done the job,
Yeah,
but
and he's
it's
even
just
lost a
not.
step speed-wise too, but he
Yeah,
still is useful.
but having him's, like, not necessary, like, in
Right.
September, like, if you're the White Sox. Like, you'd much rather he get the opportunity to go help somebody potentially.
I think at this point in the season, instead of having Tim Elko just hit 5 homers a week against AAA pitching, you bring him up, whether it's to replace Rojas or Michael A. Taylor on the roster, and even if he only plays 3 times a week, I think that's better than him playing 6 times a week in AAA.
I want to answer this here real quick. Uncle Ted mentions Riku Nishida and how he's got a 408 on base percentage. He's been injured all week, so he has not played in a few days. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I didn't see. I didn't see anything that kind of. I think he got hit by a pitch, but I don't remember him coming out of the game after that. So I'd have to go and look and see what that's all about. But
Yeah. Well, and you
he's
thought her
definitely interesting.
and you thought Harel Perez might have an issue too, but he played today as well, right? So apparently
Yeah.
he's
Oh man.
okay.
It was the weirdest thing. He was trying to steal second base. He was out by a mile and he's running to second base. And at the very last second, he's literally 2 feet away from the bag. He decides to slide right at the last second and do like a hook slide. And so he hooks his foot on the base and it stretches out his hip in like this weird way. And he's, doubled over for a while, and then they just pulled him out of the game. It was just really bizarre to watch, and he ended up playing today, so everything's good. But it was weird. Galaney has an eye injury. Baseball. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was maybe it was from getting tagged in the face with a baseball glove, and it scratched his eye or something. I think that
Mm.
if I remember correctly, that's what happened. So
Did,
that's why he hasn't been playing this week.
did either of you guys see the Knights game today, and in particular see Peyton Paulette pitch?
I did, yeah.
Because I saw him pitch. It's kind of a blur now. Maybe Friday night,
Yeah.
and his fastball got hit pretty hard, pretty regularly. And I thought, why isn't he throwing that curveball more? And I was wondering if he leaned on that more today, because it looked like he had 2 shutout innings with
Yeah, he had
4
four
strikeouts.
strikeouts. Yeah.
Yeah, he was throwing fastballs quite a bit, but he did also throw his curveball. It could be one of those things where it's just like the particular hitters that he was pitching against at that moment. They had scouted to weakness against a fastball, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
apparently it didn't work out so well. The scouting report
Or
didn't
they
accurately portray what was going to happen.
or it's just that they're letting Corey Lee call his game for him, which, oh, that was
I
mean. That was
have
that was mean. I'm sorry.
I have heard those rumors, so yeah.
That was mean.
Yeah. Jonathan Cannon, Kevin. Yeah, Jonathan Cannon's first 2 innings today were pretty rough. Gave up two-run home runs in the first 2 innings. He did pitch better for the next couple of innings. Not perfect, but the next 3 innings were uh, spotless as far as runs go. So that's good. Anybody else in particular from Kannapolis that you wanted to drop some knowledge on us here, Jeff?
I think that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think about the regulars, who's playing and doing well. Um, Unfortunately, both Mogollon and Bonham were out, have been out. So, but that opens up plenty of opportunities for the young guys. Bryce Eblin, like I said, I saw him earlier in the week. Yet another middle infielder. I mean, he's not going to take precedent over the 8,000 we mentioned earlier, but another guy I'm sure they want to give a look to see.
I don't remember. Did you make your way to Winston at all?
No, I'm going. They're the only team that's home this coming week,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
I'm actually planning to go camp out there for a couple of nights and take in 2 or 3 games.
It's Kerry says that Bonham is fine and was supposed to be in the back in the lineup this weekend, but he was not. Uh, Hip injury.
Yeah, he I talked to him about it. He said it was nothing. He kind of downplayed it, and he looked fine at batting practice. He was hitting and fielding and throwing and running. So I guess they're just being a little cautious with him, and at the same time giving these other guys a chance to play their natural positions.
Did you see? So I mean, you went to Charlotte for one game. Is that
Yes.
right? Did you see anything interesting there while you were there?
Well, like I said, it wasn't a good night for Peyton. Unfortunately, my fan favorite, Tim Elko, had the night off.
Was that
And what
Clevenger's
was
start?
even actually,
No,
I
that
take that
wasn't. That
back. I
wasn't
went back a
Clevenger's start.
second night because the first night I went, JJ Weatherholt was getting the night off, and I wanted to see him more than
Yeah.
anyone. I went to batting practice so that I could talk to Peyton Pollette and Jacob Gonzalez, and I was anxious to see Gonzalez play, but mostly I wanted to see Weatherholt play.
Nice. James, do you want to move to this silly top 30 thing here?
Yeah, we can go to that in a second. The one thing too that not really a prospect, I don't think, but something that snuck up on me, Ian, and you mentioned it, I think, like in our group text, is Yoendris Gomez, and even like he's like striking out people in the big leagues. Like I think he's gonna stay in the White Sox rotation right now.
He
Mhm.
should. We talk about somebody that, surprisingly has had a good season talking about Jacob Gonzalez. I mean, Yoendris Gomez is definitely I mean, it's found money for the White Sox. It's kind of like a Shane Smith situation, I mean, not to that degree, but he gets let go from the Dodgers after they claimed him from the Yankees and they didn't have a spot. So the White Sox grab him and they have him coming out of the pen for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, they move him into a starting role and he shows that he can hang. I mean, the pitch counts needed time to, go up and build on it. But yeah, he's been pretty good. Nasty breaking pitches, that's for sure. Yes. As Uncle Ted mentions, Gomez was a stud for the Yankees and they wouldn't start him. There's a couple, and I don't think the Dodgers probably would have either, even though they've got like 18 pitchers on the IL. You good to move to
Oh,
this here, James? Or
one more quick
what you got?
comment before we go, and you guys are going to have to help me with the pronunciation of the Texas high school shortstop that they drafted.
Oh,
Boughton?
Matthew Boughton.
Is
Yeah,
it Belton? Okay.
yeah.
Um, Ryan Newman happened to be in Kannapolis as well, and I knew that he's from Arizona and that's where he spends most of his time. So I was asking him about the high school guys, and he specifically pointed out Boughton and said, "Man, this guy caught his eye. He really likes him.
Hmm,
One to keep an eye on."
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he could definitely be like a rock solid like defender right away. He's like a track star. I think the hit will be the question. He'll be in rookie ball next year for sure.
yeah. And it sounds like that's the only way he's going to get on the field anyway.
Speaking of the Bridge League, that spinning play that Billy Carlson made
Hmm.
yesterday, awesome.
Well, there's White Sox scouts who are like he could go play shortstop in Winston right now. Now I don't know that he could hit, but he could like play defense. Like he could play defense. Like I mean, right now it's just you don't do that with high school guys.
Right.
All right. So moving to the FutureSox top 30 midseason re-rank. James, do you want to so obviously there was the tweets over the past week with the qualifications for who was making it on the list. You want to go ahead and break down those rules really quick?
Yeah, I don't make the rules. So look, we included Colson Montgomery on our list because when our list published, Colson Montgomery still had he still had prospect status. So, essentially hitters, they don't graduate from that until they get 130 at bats. It's 45 innings or 50 innings pitched, sorry, for pitchers. And then 45 days on the active roster. So, I think Montgomery might be there now, but he was not Wednesday, so he was on the list. We use the same qualifications that Kylie McDaniel uses at ESPN, the same ones that Jim Callis and Jonathan Mayo use at MLB. Baseball America is an outlier. They don't consider 45 days, so they still had guys like Kyle Teal and
Drew
even
Thorpe.
and even like Drew Thorpe on their list, which is a
What?
little bit strange. Um, but, so yeah, that's just what we do. And, tons of guys off the list, obviously. The White Sox still have 6 top 100 ish prospects like everywhere, if, with Colson on it and 5 without him. And then I think the system, I think some people have put them like in the teens, like 15, 16, 17. It's kind of a surprise with 5 top 100 guys. But look, I mean, I think doing that 9 through 20 range it was a little bit tough. They got a ton of guys in the big leagues.
So I'm curious, with the NCAA tournament, they always talk about the first four out. And with Colson moving off the list, that's going to open up a spot. So who are the first four off the list? Who are 31 through 34? I'm just, and just give me a random
I
number,
don't I
random
don't
group of guys.
I don't know. Probably relievers. Probably like your Peyton Pallettes and Tyler Schweitzers who, like is pitching in the bullpen now in Birmingham and has a crazy streak where he hasn't given up any runs but struggled a little bit in Charlotte, right? I think there's still like a potential starter in there. So maybe him. I mean, you could take a chance on like a DSL guy, like a Frank Miasis, but look, without having getting eyes on guys, it's like really hard to look at DSL stats and put guys there. I think, I don't think Eli Brown is a top 30 guy based off of what we've seen, but he was like one of the guys that we discussed. He's on that list. And, that list was a lot of international type guys and a lot of relief pitchers, like on the just missed list.
Yeah,
Okay.
I probably had something to do with that on the rankings as well because I didn't put any of them in my top 30. I don't think, just because
The
you and I
relievers,
had this. Yeah, I
I
don't
did
think
I
so.
didn't I didn't either. I didn't even put Paulette on mine.
Yeah, I
Did you
think
put Franklin?
No.
I don't think so. And I
Oh,
like Franklin. Hey,
He
I'm not
I
saying I
put
don't
him
like him.
I put him in the just missed. I put a lot of guys in the just missed. Like I had Mark McLaughlin I had in the just missed. It's just hard for me to justify ranking a reliever in a system that's pretty good when starters are. I mean, we have like Kai Bush at 27 or something like that. So I just think it's tough to put one of the relievers over him.
That's my thought as well. I think that there should be like I don't know, like a top 15 just for relievers list that you kind of like staple on the back of your top 30, because I don't know how those guys, that are unless it's like a very, very dominant pitcher, like, say we were ranking Grant Taylor at the time, like I
Right.
would, like when we ranked him the first time, it was as a starter and then they moved him to the bullpen. So now if he was still in the minor leagues like him, I would put, top 15. But, you know, otherwise, if you're not like that, like just a list of guys that I think that are bullpen guys that would do something to me makes more sense than slotting them into the top 30 versus, guys that pitch every fifth day as a starter or as a position player. That's just my personal feelings on it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, one of the similarities between us and Pipeline was that they were as high on Tanner McDougal and Christian Opper as we were. Like, those are both top 10 guys for them. They still kept Wolkow up pretty high. Um, we're way higher on Antonacci than anybody else, which I think is fine. We have him up at 10. The one thing that I really disagreed with them and BA on, and even Kylie McDaniel a little bit, is just how high they still have Jairo Iriarte and Wickelman Gonzalez. Like, I think Wickelman Gonzalez can be like a really good seventh inning guy potentially, like on a good team. But like we're really ranking seventh inning relievers. Like, I just
18 and
it's kind of
19 on MLB Pipeline.
that's what I mean. Like, it's just they have better. Like, I'm sorry, but I'll take a chance on like one of these other position players or somebody who might start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be honest, that makes no sense hearing it for the first time. That makes no sense. I mean, they haven't even demonstrated yet that they're good relievers.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't even know if Jairo Iriarte can pitch in the bullpen. Like, I
Right.
don't know. I don't know that he's anything.
Right. Yeah. He's one of those ones where he's an enigma, like he'll look great 1 or 2 innings in a week, and then the other 2 innings he pitches, he'll, give up 3, 4 runs and walk a bunch of guys, so.
Yeah. I do think the biggest so obviously, like, look, we didn't rank Tanner McDougal in the preseason because just like a couple of us didn't rank him. I know Ian, he was on your list and he was on some others, and he got some pretty big pub from a guy like Keith Law, who had him basically like as the 7th or 8th best prospect in the system, which was a little bit eye opening. And then Tanner has come out and shoved like all year, so he's rightfully like in the top 10 for us. And then Opper, I mean, look, we knew the kid was talented, but we just had no idea that he was gonna like come to full season ball and pitch as well as he has, right? So he's way up on the list, and then Antonacci was just a big jump. I mean, you do what he's doing at AA. I know it's like it's not a ton of power. We've had this discussion, right? Like, is he lefty Mydroth? Like, uh, you know, we'll see if any of the power develops, but the bat to ball is insane. So he like has to be up there in a system like this one.
So remind me, where was Aldrin Batista on the list, and were there any other guys on the list who have been injured, if for most, if not all, of this season?
Mason's there. Kai Bush is on there. I
McLean?
believe is Aldrin Batista like number.
He's pretty
I
high
mean,
still.
is he?
Aldrin Batista, yeah, because so Mason Adams we had at 11, and then we have Aldrin Batista at 14 still
That's
because
fair. That's fair.
he's pitching in Arizona right now, and I think he's like the highest upside pitching prospect like of those next guys basically. We still have so Lacombe came into the list at 17, which I think is fair and maybe even like a little low. We do have Blake Larson on still too, even though like
Right.
he missed the whole season, but like there's like a lot of upside there. So, and then you brought up Kai Bush. Kai Bush is at 27. And then we ranked
Verlander,
yeah,
Oof.
we ranked Shane Murphy too. Baseball America has Murphy in their list as well.
All
Can
right. So
can Batista be sent to the Arizona Fall League, or is the list set and that's it?
Yeah, he's not going there. Usually they only do guys from AA or higher. I just like don't know that they'd want to do that to him, but
sometimes
I bet he pitches for Instructs. Well, Ian, I thought it was funny today that Connor Griffin and Leo Dallas DeVry both got promoted to AA today.
I wasn't gonna bring it up. I don't.
I know, but I think it's because of the AFL. I bet they're both going to the Arizona Fall League. And
I mean,
those
it's possible, but they sent Jack Caglione last year, and he had played A ball.
yeah.
So I genuinely don't think it matters. I think it's just I mean, maybe they're priming him to see that level of talent that's going to be at the AFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely possible. I want to.
This one too for me.
I want to reply to this. If you can actually prove that Albertus exists in reality, then maybe we would put him on a top 30 list. Nobody's seen him. Guy's ghost.
Yeah, I can't rank him. I mean, like, I've heard good things, but I've literally, like, never seen him before because it apparently, like, the surgery, I mean, he had another surgery and it didn't go well and he's on the IL again. So yeah, Uncle Ted, the AFL roster was released by the White Sox general manager, like, in
Yeah.
front of the Chicago media,
Yeah.
basically.
It was leaked by the GM.
Yeah, so I had heard from someone that would definitely know that Schultz and Hagen were going. And I, like, kinda sat on the information for a day, and then Getz
Then
reported it, like, the next day, yeah, and then our guest last week, you know, Jesus Cano, walked up to Paul Janisch, like, in Arizona and asked him for the rest of the names, and he gave them to him.
Hmm.
So,
that's good customer service right there.
That's a new day.
Yeah. So, do you have anything in that you wanted to mention about the top 30 here, James, at all before we move on?
no, I think we kinda talked about it. I mean, I think it's similar names to, to everybody else. I think our order's, like, a little bit different. I think obviously we said, like,
Hmm.
we didn't really have relievers on our list, and Antonacci's pretty high, and Tanner McDougal, we're very sorry, but we righted it wrong, and, yeah, we're, I think we did a pretty good job. 6 of us ranked it, and I don't have any glaring issues with it.
So I don't have any issues with it. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Uh, Number one, Hagen Smith is down
Yes.
to number 6 on our list.
Pipeline
Um,
2.
and Pipeline as well. There's um yeah, I mean, I don't even really need to explain why that has happened, but it did. Um Also, Billy Carlson is 4 on our list, and I want to say he's like what is it? He's number 6 on Baseball America. Like, I kind of found that strange,
I
but then
believe so,
again,
but
when
I
you see
think
Kyle Teal is
right, they
there
still have Kyle Teal there.
at 2.
So
Also, so one of
he's
the
4 at Pipeline as well, Carlson.
okay.
And
So
he's gonna be 3, like, tomorrow when Colson graduates. So
well, how you like that? So here's something. There were a bunch of tweets about Colson, where he was ranked, and I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because it was like you know, like we said why we put him on the list at all. But then there was also a tweet that he should be number 1 because he's in the majors and has 10 home runs. So I
we
just thought
talked
that
about this
was
last week.
yeah. I think it's just like an interesting, you know, it's
Yeah,
just
like
a
should anybody other than him be 1 after we've seen what he's done in the big leagues, right? Like, I understand the argument. It's just this stuff takes a while to write and edit, and we released it, and then he hit like 5 homers in 7 days. I mean, like, what, like, it is what it is.
yeah. It's just weird. And so like also, Braden Montgomery is number 1 on MLB Pipeline now.
Which was strange when they did it.
I thought so.
And now he's on an absolute heater. So
Now he's on a heater, so now it looks much, much better. So speaking of Braden Montgomery's heater, um, if you have not been paying attention to the at FutureSox on X/Twitter and seen all of the highlights that I've been posting this last week, Braden Montgomery should be the Southern League Player of the Week coming up this week, unless there's somebody that is just absolutely out of their mind this week. Another player playing just ridiculous. Braden Montgomery, 8 doubles, went 11 for 22, and had 5 walks. That's pretty stinking good. I think he only had like 6 strikeouts or something, or 5 strikeouts. So very, very good week. And this comes after, there was a point earlier this year where we were talking about his struggles and looking at his swing, and to me it's clear that there have been some pretty major changes in his approach and in his swing. And baseball mentioned it earlier, that his hands are closer to his body, staying inside the baseball, and he's also keeping his body his upper body closed so he can stay through the baseball. I mean, he just looks like a night and day different hitter than earlier this year when he was really, really struggling for like a month in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, he does. He looks a lot different. And it's good because he goes to the AFL and does the same thing. We're going to be talking about him debuting in Chicago in like May, right? So it's pretty helpful. There was a question from Jamie about the rookie of the year. I don't think the Sox get anything because he wasn't up soon enough. I think that's like one of the caveats with Montgomery. Like if he happened to win rookie of the year, right? He's not going to because Nick Kurtz is winning rookie of the year. But if he did, I don't think the Sox get anything because he needed to be on the roster like by a certain date and wasn't. To no fault of their own because he was not ready to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've at least seen pictures of Blake Larson, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I've seen Blake Larson with the other people on the team. I have not seen Albertus. I did hear.
And I know people that like watched Blake Larson pitch in instructional league and how disgusting he was. So we kept him on the list.
Yeah.
And his elbow will heal.
Yes. What was the other thing I was going to bring up here? And I'm completely spacing.
With the top 30?
No. Just another topic. I had something in mind, and now I'm completely blanking.
I don't know. We talked to Braden Montgomery. We should have what's the date? Tomorrow is the 18th. I think we'll have we could possibly have Schultz this week.
Okay.
towards the end of the week,
Ooh.
or the start of the following week, 24th, 25th, 26th, something in there, and then hopefully, I don't know if that leaves you 4 starts, right? But if that's 4 5-inning starts, like he's at 68 innings, then he could throw 20, 25 more in the Arizona Fall League, and I think we are okay with that, like 110, 115-ish, something like that. And then coming to spring training, trying to compete for a job with the Sox.
Yeah, I think the full Arizona Fall League roster, that is our full roster, correct?
Yeah, because it was like 9 players. It was a ton of
Okay, that's what
guys.
I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't have rosters from other teams because the Sox released theirs very, very early.
Yeah. Should be a really interesting mix of guys. It's nice to see that Connor McCullough is going to go out there and, do his thing. I enjoy watching him pitch. He's like, reminds me a lot of like a Shane Murphy type guy, like him and Murphy and Mason Adams and that all pitching together on the same staff at one point. Insane.
I'm curious to see like the national take on Sam Antonacci because like the way that league is, I think he's gonna go there and rake. He's obviously not gonna go hit like 6 homers or something because that's like not who he is, right? But if he hits like 380, like people are they're gonna be talking about him.
Yeah, it's like usually every year there's like 2 or 3 guys that literally everybody is talking about. Jacob Marcy was one of them a few years back, and now he's finally in the major leagues, and people are shocked that he's playing well. And they're like, "Who is this guy? Where did he come from?" Yeah, he's pretty good. So let's hope we get a couple of those guys. We'll see. You guys got anything else here?
I'm good, man.
No, I think that's those are the highlights. A lot of good news this week.
Yeah.
I do think
right, well,
for anybody worried,
yeah.
if you've looked at the Tankathon standings, by the way, I think the Sox are pretty safe.
Are they? I haven't looked.
Yeah, I know you were worried for a little bit, just like, oh, somebody might catch them. I don't think anybody's catching them. I think it's like a 7-game lead on the Pirates, and the Braves have won like 5 of 6. So I think the Sox will have the top odds for the number 1 pick. That doesn't mean that they won't pick 7th, but I think they'll at least have top odds.
Wow. That's something to dream on. Oof.
All right. Well, I'm going to walk us out here. You have been watching / listening to the FutureSox podcast. If you are listening to this in podcast form, know that you can find us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube and the Purple app. You can also find this podcast along with all of our written content at FutureSox.net. If you are looking for White Sox prospect highlights, you can find them on X at FutureSox and now also here on our YouTube channel. If you love this content and want to support us here at FutureSox, there's a link to our Patreon in our channel description and at FutureSox.net. You can also toss up super chat on our YouTube stream. Also, don't forget to like this stream and subscribe with notifications so you know when we're going live while helping us in the worldwide web algorithms. My name is Ian Eskridge at Daily White Sox. He's James Fox at JamesFox917. Mr. Jeff Cohen, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming and hopping on at AAA Jeff on the X. We appreciate all of you that are listening and watching. Thank you so much for hopping in the chat and tossing up some good points here. We appreciate you guys. You guys drive this whole thing. We appreciate you guys. Have a great night, and we will catch up with you guys next week. Thanks.